you for coming. My name is Paul Saxman. I'm a developer advocate at Google. And today I'm here to talk about bringing Android apps to the living room with Google TV. It's a pretty exciting time for Google TV and the Google TV team because just last year we launched an upgraded version of Google TV which makes the platform Android developer friendly. And we've also announced a lot of new OEM partners this year, or last year, which are going to be launching devices this year as well. So I'm going to talk about what the platform is, or why developers should be interested in television, what the platform is, and how developers can build apps for the platform. So to start off, I'd like to talk about why developers should be interested in television. And to do that, I'm going to share some statistics with you. I picked statistics from the United States because that's actually the primary market for Google TV right now. But the OEMs that we're working with now, and I'll talk about them a little bit later, they're actually going to launch internationally as well this year. So it's actually a really good time to start thinking about developing apps for television. And a lot of these statistics too, they're kind of familiar across other countries as well, and I'll explain that a little bit. But one really interesting statistic here is that in the United States, households have an average of 2.5 people, but 2.86 TV sets, which is very interesting because that means there are more televisions than people in the United States. It's not necessarily true across the entire world. I know that some countries there's usually one television or maybe two televisions per household. But it's very interesting to know that, at least in the United States, that there are actually more televisions than smartphones because there are more TVs than people, and also more televisions than computing devices, computers or PCs or laptops. So TVs are very prevalent in the United States as they are across the rest of the world. Also another interesting statistic in the United States is that people watch an average of 5 or more hours of television per day. I put quotes around watch because it's a little bit of a, how you define watching is a little odd because a lot of people multitask while watching television. People will eat their dinner or they'll check email. But it's about 5 hours that they have the television on at the end of the day. An interesting thing about this statistic is that watching television is the number 2 leisure activity. So when people aren't working, they watch TV more than pretty much everything else, with the exception of one leisure activity. Anybody have an idea what the top leisure activity might be? Sleeping. So people watch more television than pretty much anything else, with the exception of sleeping. Around the rest of the world, it's a little bit different. Usually numbers around 3 hours a day watching television. I personally don't watch 3 or 5 hours of television a day, and I'm sure that's true for a lot of you. But we're not necessarily, as developers or engineers or professionals, we're not necessarily the target audience for television all the time. The other thing is, this is just an average as well. A lot of people watch much more than that as well. So about smart TVs, which Google TV kind of fits into that category, over 20% of all TVs that were sold in 2010 had integrated internet functionality. So these are televisions that are connected to the internet. And this actually excludes things like set-top boxes or game consoles, which also bring internet capabilities to TVs. But in 2015, it's actually projected that there'll be 500 million connected TVs actually that have been sold altogether. And this is actually, 500 million is about the number of smartphones that were sold by the end of 2011, so the sum total that were sold. So it may not seem like a lot, 500 million, but smart TVs have only been in development for a few years, where actually smartphones have been in development for quite a long time. So actually the increase in sales in smart TVs, or internet connected TVs, is actually expected to surpass smartphones at some point. So kind of sum things up, why you want to consider developing for television is that there are a lot of people that watch television. It's not everybody that watches television, but globally about 5 billion people have access to televisions. That doesn't mean they all have access to internet-connected televisions, but there are a lot of televisions out there. And people watch a lot of television. It's their #1 way of consuming content. They watch more TV than most other computing activities, or kind of content consumption activities. TVs are everywhere. I mean, the talk is about bringing Android apps to your living room, but there are TVs all over the place. And actually in Korea, I see more TVs outside of the living room or outside of the homes than I see in pretty much any other country. Hotel rooms, bars, or restaurants can have televisions. In the United States, we have what we call sports bars, and one bar will have maybe 20 televisions in it. We actually see developers building apps that actually run in bars now on smart TVs. Airplanes have them, hospitals have televisions, they're all over the place. The last point is that TVs are getting smarter and better connected every day. It's only been a few years since the smart TV kind of platform has been kind of growing. And people are using it as an opportunity to kind of engage in television. Where we used to actually sit back and just consume content, now we can actually interact with content. So it's actually making our TV experience actually richer and more engaging. So the opportunity to developers is that you can actually build applications now that are in the center of the living room, which is in the center of most people's households. This is very different from handheld devices, which are personal devices. So you can think about building applications that will actually bring family members together in a household. You can enhance people's 5 hours per day watching television. And by this I mean that you can make it a richer experience like I was talking about. Instead of just sitting back and consuming content for hours at a time, you can give them the ability to actually interact with content on the internet, with the content they're watching. When you think about game consoles and where game consoles have gone over the last years with interactivity, now you can do motion actually to play games. The same opportunities exist now with television. And actually, this is another interesting thing about TVs is there's the other 19 hours that people aren't watching television. The television can be used for something. People aren't necessarily home, so at those times they can't be using the television. But with Google TV, we see a lot of developers thinking about ways to use the television in ambient mode. So for example, using your television as a picture frame, or using your television as a graphic displays of a fish tank, for example. Giving people information displays when they wake up in first thing in the morning to tell them what the weather or traffic is. These are other ways that TVs can be used when the user is not actively engaging with content. And Google TV is another way that you can bring that to users. So I'll talk a little bit about what Google TV is now. As I already mentioned, it's the Android platform. So it's the Android Honeycomb platform specifically. And it's open to developers now, so it has ADB connectivity. So developers can build apps, push apps to it, test their apps, and actually release them in the Google Play Store. Google TV also has a full Chrome browser in it. So if you have a web application, you can also build apps for the platform as well. The Chrome version is Chrome 11. It actually does not support the Chrome Web Store right now, but we do actually have ways that you can distribute your apps on Google TV, your web apps on Google TV. So Google TV is actually a open apps platform. It's not a device. Although there are actually several devices on the market right now that run Google TV. This is the Sony Internet TV on the left here. This is the Sony Internet TV Blu-ray disc player, and this is the Logitech Review. This is actually has a television with Google TV integrated on the device. This is a Blu-ray disc player that you plug into your television, the existing television. And the same thing with the Logitech Review. It's a set-top box that you plug into your television. We've announced partnerships with several key television manufacturers. You've probably heard of a couple of them. Samsung is going to be releasing a Google TV product this year. LG is also releasing a Google TV product this year. We've also announced Vizio, which I believe is mostly an American company, but they're also launching products around Google TV as well. This is what Google TV looks like. This is the Google TV home screen. The face in the background is actually live TV. So the user is watching television. They can bring up their Google TV interface with pushing a button on the controller. So this is Android. So actually this space here, in addition to being where the user actually can kind of see television in the background while they're interacting with their television, developers can put widgets, Android widgets. So you can actually imagine having clocks here, having weather information. The user can make this all go away and watch television, live TV, just by pushing a button. So it's really quick for them to switch between the interactive mode and the viewing mode. There's also Android notifications, which is the little number 3 here. So applications, while they're running in the background, can actually push information to the user. So you might imagine how this might be interesting for getting information to the user even though they're not engaging with your application, the same way that you do it on a cell phone or smartphone. This is where the users actually access all applications on the device. This is the TV and movies, or the TV application, live TV, so they can bring live TV to the foreground with just pushing a button. This is our electronic programming guide. So what we've done with Google TV is we've built an interface where users actually no longer have to browse through channel listings. They browse based on the type of content they want to watch. And based on that, we can actually learn the type of shows they like to watch and promote shows for them. And that can be live TV or TV over the internet, video on demand. And it's really, with Google TV, kind of blurred. The users don't necessarily have to know the difference between what's playing live and what's coming from their Amazon or their Netflix or one of their subscription services. Right here, actually, to point out is the Google Play Store. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in a minute, but the thing to note here is that this is the Google Play Store. So developers that have apps in the Google Play Store, they could also automatically be available, or presently be available on Google TV. Google TV has a Chrome web browser, and this is how the user accesses it, and also a global search. The global search on Google TV looks like this. This is another interface where users actually get to content on the device. By pressing a button on the keyboard, it's the little search icon, they bring up this interface at any time. And through this, they can actually get content from the web. They can get content about what's playing on live TV at this moment. So if they want to watch a particular TV show, they can just type in the name of the TV show, and it'll show here, and they can go to it directly. It also brings content from Chrome, which is actually a little bit different from what we bring from the web, because this is actually TV and movie results, where this is actually the Chrome suggestion. We bring content from YouTube, because we actually find that YouTube is one of the main people like to watch YouTube content on television. It shouldn't be a big surprise, but YouTube, especially HD content on YouTube, looks really great on a large screen TV. So if you have a tablet or a phone and you want to plug it into your television, you'll get even a better experience on Google TV, because you can actually stream HD content, 1080p HD content even, directly to your television. And the developers have the opportunity to push results to users as well. So if you have an application that surfaces information about TV shows or movies, you can actually get that to the user directly when they do this global search. So even though they've searched on CNN, which is a popular news channel in the United States, they can also get content from other apps installed on the device. And that's actually controlled by the user, or the developer, what information they push to the user. As I mentioned, Google TV has a Google Play Store. What we've done here, though, is we promote applications that run really well and look really well on televisions. And that's what we've done here, is we've promoted these apps in the Google Play Store here and here. Any app that is in the Google Play Store can actually show up for users to download, and without them being promoted or featured, they show up in the other apps or other games sections. It's actually a little bit unlikely that developers, if you have an app in the Android market, that your app will show up on Google TV, or the Google Play Store on Google TV now, because of the way market filtering works, which I'll talk about in a moment. As I mentioned, we also like to promote web applications that have been optimized for television, and we do that by an application called the Web App Spotlight. So developers that have built TV-optimized websites, that you can let us know about it, and we can actually put it in the Web App Spotlight for users to use while they're using Google TV. So Google TV is designed around what we call the 10-foot or 3-meter experience, which is very different from other Android devices, which are actually handheld devices, or laptops, which are usually, we call like the 2-foot experience, or PCs, where you're actually within like touch distance of the display. So the 3-meter experience means that the user is about 3 meters or 10 feet away from the device. So what that means is that as developers, you have to think about making the content look large enough for the user to read at a distance. And then also their control is actually with a handheld device. These handheld devices are actually getting really sophisticated these days, though. Not only can these handheld devices have full keyboards and D-pad navigation, they can also have voice input and sensor input as well. So you have to think about making an interface that can be seen at 3 meters away, but also that users can navigate using a D-pad or a controller. These are what the controllers look like for the newer devices. They all have full keyboards, a directional pad navigation, search keys, which is how they access the global search, media controls for controlling playback of content, and the Android buttons, which should be very familiar to any Android developer. These are the back, home, and menu buttons. So the D-pad, this is just an example of the LG remote. The D-pad actually shows up here and also here on the keyboard. So it's always available for the user to use to navigate the display. It's very important that apps that are actually optimized for television support D-pad navigation for the user, because it's the primary way they like to actually navigate content. And the reason is it's really convenient if you're, let's say, doing multitasking to actually navigate and eat your meal or check your emails, as opposed to using a pointing device, which can actually take multiple hands. These are the media keys I mentioned. The common media keys, these are supported by all Android devices, but because they're not necessarily used by handheld devices as commonly, it's really important to note that play, pause, forward, reverse, fast forward, fast reverse, and stop. So in addition to the controllers, the handheld universal controllers, actually one more point to mention. So these are actually universal remote controls. So Google TV actually integrates with your other audio-video devices in your living room, and you control all of those devices with one remote control. And the way that works is with either IP communication, so it can connect to some devices over Internet Protocol and control them over IP, or it uses infrared blasters. So this ends up being the only remote control that the user has anymore in their living room. And it pretty much, they're designed to have all the functionality they could need. But in addition to using the physical controllers, which the manufacturers, that come with the devices, the Google TV devices, users can actually use virtual input devices. This is an example, this is just a Nexus S phone, and this is actually running the Google TV remote for Android. There's an iOS version of this available as well. These basically turn your handheld device, your smartphone or tablet, into a Google TV remote control. It has all the same functionality as the physical remote that I showed you a moment ago. In addition, this one here actually uses a voice input as well. So the user can actually just push the voice input. They can talk into their handheld device. It actually does voice-to-text translation and then sends it to the television. So if the user wants to search on a complex term, they just use their voice instead of actually typing it into the keyboard on the device. We've actually open-sourced the Android version of the remote. And this is actually what a developer did. They took the open-source application that we developed and released, and they made an optimized or a kind of enhanced version of it. Some of the things they did to this, they actually like this kind of backlit look. A lot of users seem to like this a lot. This is called Able Remote, by the way. They've added a lot of other great features to the application as well. It does things like, if you receive an SMS message on your phone while you're watching television, it'll actually, the SMS message will show up on your TV. Also, if you get a call that comes into your phone while you're watching a television, it can be figured to show that you have an incoming call on your television. So kind of the information that you have access to on your handheld device can also come, through the handheld device to the television. Not only have we open sourced the Android remote control for Google TV, there's an iOS version available as well. We've open sourced parts of that, and we've also open sourced the protocol for doing this. So if you want to build not necessarily a remote control app, but a second screen application that integrates with television, the protocols are there. So it really you start to ask, what exactly is a Google Television application? A Google TV application can run on the TV itself. It can run on handheld devices. We've seen situations where developers are actually having multiple handheld devices communicate with the TV simultaneously. One example of this is there's a company in the United States called Mobile, and they've built a poker game that you can use. So people that come over your house, they can sit down, they install the app on their phone. On their phone, they can see their hand of cards. On the television, you see the table. So you can play games with people in a room using smartphones and televisions, much like you do using a game console or a much elaborate, I guess, version of game console. So this is what we call the multi-screen experience. It's when the TV experience spans across multiple devices, and it's really blurring where the TV experience begins and the handheld device experience begins. So I'm going to talk a little bit what is Google TV from the developer's aspect, talk about a few of the APIs that I've mentioned already, and what it means from an Android point of view, what Google TV is. So Google TV is a little bit different from other Android devices because it actually has two screen resolutions in a single device. That's 720 and 1080p HD resolutions. All other handheld devices or Android devices have a single resolution. So basically what happens if the user actually has a TV that supports one of these modes, or they can actually set the Google TV device to use one of these modes, that resolution is reported to the developer, and the developer has to support that resolution. So it's very important that you actually build assets that scale across multiple resolutions. The other thing that you'll notice about this, actually, so HDPI and XHDPI mode as well. So because they have different density-independent pixel resolution. I take that back. It has the same density-independent pixel resolution, but different DPIs. And I'll explain that in a moment. One really interesting thing about this, though, is that the TVs actually fall in the large category, as opposed to the extra large category, like tablets. Does anybody have any idea why that might be? So why would a television be smaller than a handheld device?
You will be far away.
Further back, exactly. So it's all a matter of perspective. If you're sitting about 3 meters away, probably the people in the back, this looks a lot smaller than your handheld device, your phone. So what we've done is we've taken kind of the average size television,